This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 86 of the Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network. Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by BioStar US. Find them online at biostarus.com.
On today's show, we share the best horsemanship advice we ever got. In Tigapedia, we focus on salves and treatments for scrapes and cuts. In Critter Nutrition, we look at the USEF ban of CBD. And in Coffee Clutch, we tackle the question, are we treating our dogs like humans instead of as dogs? Listen in. So what's everybody been up to since the last Healthy Critters show?
Solving the world's problems. No.
Yeah.
We went to Land Rover.
Since
last,
heard that was great.
Yes, the event formerly known as Rolex in Lexington, Kentucky.
It will always be Rolex to me.
I know, to everybody.
Yeah. I try not to do that because, good on Land Rover for stepping in and taking it on.
Yes, absolutely.
And this year at Land Rover, I don't know if you followed it at all. They had lots and lots of live streaming going on, which was awesome. But Land Rover has had the test drive track there for years where you could get in a Land Rover and they have this really cool little bumpy, lumpy track that you get to drive around across the sides of the hills and over this cool ramp and through the water in the Land Rovers. And they have one for regular drivers, and then they have a separate track for youth. You have to be, I think, age 14, but you don't have to have a driver's license yet. And they get to do it, which is really fun. And then they had a third one for eeny beeny little kids with teensy weensy itsy bitsy little ones that are like Barbie sized, but they were Land Rovers. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
The Land Rover employees who were manning that particular track looked really, really stressed. Because those little 7-year-olds would hop in those things and just floor it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they had to walk beside the little Barbie car. That was how it worked. The little kid would get in and they would walk.
Right.
The little kid would drive it around the track all by himself, but they had to walk next to it. So, of course, the kid slams on the gas pedal because the guys are running beside him. And it's like 90 degrees in Kentucky.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so that was pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't, as if you needed another reason to go to the event formerly known as Rolex. Have you guys ever gone to that one?
I've never gone.
I did. I went a couple of years, starting with the 78 World Championships.
Oh, that was when it was still a small boutique event.
Yes.
Wow.
Small boutique event. Now, now it's a 100,000 people extravaganza with acres and acres of shopping.
I know people that always go every year that are dressage people that go every year because they love the shopping. And I've never been. Tigger, did you event?
I did.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
So part of the deal, of course, as you mentioned, Patty, is the shopping. And I always have a shopping strategy when I go to Kentucky because it's acres and acres and acres of it. They're just zillions and zillions of vendors. So I always go into the website and they have the interactive list of vendors and I pre-shop everybody. I go to their website and see what they have and see if they have any specials at the show. And it's all very scientific. And I know a lot of the big dressage shows have ginormous shopping, don't they, Patty?
Yeah, dressage at Devon.
Dressage at Devon is great. But from what I've been told, because I've got a
smaller.
Yeah. Last year it was not small. I thought it was pretty big last year. And they were getting more inventive, like not inventive, but they were branching out. What I kind of think is neat is, and it makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because the show's in the middle of this city block, and but they have more local businesses there, like a local jeweler or a local artist or something like that. Because if there are people coming that just come to the horse show, the vendors aren't really selling to those people. So this way they're kind of appealing to different, people that are in the crowd that aren't necessarily horse people, but that love horses. But from what I have been told, I've got some hardcore dressage people that go to Devon, they go to Rolex, they like to go down to Wellington, and they said Rolex is the best shopping.
Really?
Excuse me. Yeah, Land Rover. Yeah. Land Rover? That's right. Yeah. They said it's best shopping.
With the exception of WEF.
No, I don't know if they've been to WEF.
because WEF has the most incredible shopping.
You mean like on the jumper
On the
showgrounds?
showgrounds,
Yeah.
So having not attended WEF, I went to WEF once for about 4 hours. I made a delivery, and as soon as I made the delivery, I turned around and got the heck out of there because it was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So kind of paint a picture of the shopping venue at WEF for me, Tigger.
Well, it depends on the show. There's a whole vendor area of the permanent vendors, the trailers and the permanent tents. And then there are these roving, depending on if it's a Nations Cup or how big the jumper class is that week. And there'll be vendors that have just come in for that week. And really cool little companies that are trying to kind of break into the equestrian market with something unique. Like one year I bought a pair of sandals from this little company that made it out of like bridle leather.
Oh.
Well, yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Hermes is there. It's worth just walking in and going, this is too much for me.
Yeah. And I'd pay that to put that on my horse. Why?
But what I like, a lot of times I like the aesthetic of how something is set up. You know, you get ideas about colors and a lot of new things. I think Animo Breeches really got a big head start 5 or 6 or 7 years ago by being at WEF. Nobody had ever heard of this Italian company called Animo. And so you can see a lot of new things at WEF, but they may only be there that week and then they're gone. You know, so
interesting. So it's not like it's the same 135 vendors for the run of the thing. They come and go and rotate in and out.
But there's obviously there's a big permanent area and they're there all season. You know, all the big tax stores
and these, God, they're amazing.
And some of the, fashion clothing companies are there because people are looking for, oh my God, I've got to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're basically living there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So when somebody goes to WEF as a spectator, what strategy should they use? Should they go around and look at everything first and then purchase things? Should they have a shopping list? Should you just go and what's the strategy? Because I know for Land Rover, because it's so big, you kind of have to have a strategy.
I am a strategy-free person. And I don't look at who the vendors are. I like to wander. And I like to wander over and say, oh, that's kind of cool. And if I like it and I can afford it, I'll buy it or I need it. Or otherwise, I'll just keep moving. So I don't have a plan. I don't know who the vendors are from year to year. And I would be that way at Rolex. I would just... I used to go to Spruce Meadows. I used to have a booth at Spruce Meadows, not when I was with BioStar, but when I was with its previous incarnation, Equigenesis. And so I did Spruce Meadows, and that's a huge, gigantic vendor fair. And when I'd get a break in my booth, I'd go just wander around. I'm a wanderer. I'm not precise at all.
So you like to just go and discover.
Exactly. It's an adventure.
How do you ever strategize when you go to the big shows, Patty?
I mean, it's funny. Years ago, we're talking about this, I'm thinking, the one year that I was in Florida, I was totally into silver bracelets, and I would just go and I would look at all the different vendors had silver bracelets, and I wanted it to have something like, Horsewise on it. So that was like a thing. But, I'm not as big a shopper, not that I was ever a really big shopper, anymore. I just, moving stuff around when you have it for 30 some years, like I've been going through some trunks of stuff. I'm like, I cannot believe I still have this bridle. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and it's, so I don't know. I even when we went to Devon last year, I like to do a little bit of my Christmas shopping there. I have an idea in mind, but I'm probably a little bit more like Tigger. I mean, I always try to go into like the Horse of Course when I'm there because, of course, we love Beth and Marty. And
yes.
And she always has great stuff. And she'll always look at me and go, oh, my gosh, do I have the breeches for you? And you just know that it's going to work out fine. And she's right. So there's that. But, yeah, not so much. And so not really. I'm actually trying to get better about just buying stuff for no reason, because I love it when you go and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? And it's still in a package. So I'm trying to get away from waste because I really don't need anything. I want a lot, but I don't need anything.
So my sister has a very good strategy.
What's that?
Which I am adopting. Well, it has to do with clothing. And actually, I'm feeling much better about myself since I watched a thing with, what's her name? The singer from Canada in Vegas.
Oh, Celine Dion?
Yes. She was with James Corbin doing karaoke and car karaoke in Vegas. Mm-hmm. And he announced to the world that he had found out from her assistants that she really loves shoes. She loves shoes so much, she has 10,000 pairs.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. So that really made me feel good about myself. Because I do love shoes. So what my sister does is if she's going to buy a new, whatever it is, it can be a turtleneck, it can be a skirt, it can be whatever. Wow. She pulls something out of the closet that then goes to Salvation Army.
Yeah, you have to keep the balance. If you get something, you got to get rid of something. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have had a rule for the last 5 years, which is if I don't even think about something for a year, I don't need it. So I'll just get rid of it, which is great because then it makes room for new stuff. But
that you do think about.
Yes, that I do think about because I definitely have certain things. I mean, I don't really go out that much. So, I mean, when I do go out, I'm always wearing breeches. So, yeah, but that's a great thing, Tigger, that your sister does because it's sort of.
You know what it is? It's easy.
Yes, it is easy.
It's pain-free.
And it makes you feel good. Like decluttering is a great thing. Great thing.
There you go. So we want to hear about your shopping strategies. Maybe we haven't thought of something. Yeah.
And let us know if there's anything that we all need to buy. Even though I just said all that other stuff. So, yeah.
Well, you have other things to get rid of.
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
So let us know on healthycrittersradio.com.
There you go. And speaking of advice, that's your cue, Tigger.
To horsemanship. It's an interesting seg, but we've made the leap.
There we go. We're going to start with Tigger today. What was the best horsemanship advice you ever got?
I have to start with 2. My first riding teacher was named Sis Kelsey in Greenwich, Connecticut. And we were riding ponies, of course. I was 7, maybe. And she had set up a little course. And I jumped over this little X. And it was more of a plop over a little X. And then there was a little vertical. And I think the pony stopped. And she called me Little Montague.
Aww.
Little Montague, send your heart over the fence and your pony will follow. And you know what? It worked.
Oh, that's cute.
So as I come to a fence, I'd think about sending my heart over it and then jumping after.
Oh, that's really cute. I am writing that down.
It's the new best advice, right?
Well, it was from Little Montague, who's now a bigger Montague, so it's not it's not that new.
God rest Sis Kelsey. They don't make them like that anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one was not given to me directly by the person who actually created it, but it was given to me by a friend who gave it to me. And it's actually from Ray Hunt, the horsemanship master. Recognize the smallest change and the slightest try.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go. And I think for me at least, I've heard similar iterations from that same source. It's been paraphrased many times. I think so many of us put the importance on the wrong word because for me, because I heard this years ago and many times, recognize was the part I was missing. Because I'm going, well, I did. That was a small try. I wasn't focusing on the recognize. I thought I was paying attention and recognized the smallest because I was looking for what I thought were small things. When in fact, I was so busy trying to recognize
looking
a change.
for the things. Yeah.
I wasn't seeing the tree for the forest.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and that was a very recent revelation, it was the whole recognize part of that deal. So that's a really good one. Everybody should have that on a T-shirt or written inside their tack drum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Posted in the barn.
Yep. How about you, Pappy?
I was writing that down, guys. Well, mine aren't as like wonderful. Like the first thing that I thought of when I saw that this is what we were going to do was Mr. J at Winnie Stables in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And the best advice that he ever gave me was look up. No, really look up. That jump is coming at you.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And it's always been my, like, I don't care what's going on whenever I have ever had a rider. And it literally is so instinctual at this point, but if something's going wrong, I just scream, look up, look up, look up, look up, look up. And it's like, if the horse is bucking, is going to be naughty, look up, look where you're,
So doesn't matter what's going wrong. Looking up is always the right answer.
Look up because because you could be heading towards something. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So that's one of my biggest. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, that's good. I like it.
But along the lines of what you guys were saying is something that I and this has just been an evolution in my riding and teaching, that because I have always, I've had many people always say, no matter what goes on, you got to be kind to the horse. You got to be kind to the horse, because you know what? And I read this recently and I thought this was so interesting. I want to say it was maybe Shelley Francis, who I really admired. And she was saying that she was trying to get through something very difficult. And I don't know if it was Rabine or whoever she was studying with. And they just said, listen, you've got to understand that most often of the time, the horse is not trying to do the wrong thing. It's that your reactions or your recognition aren't correct. And that has been very empowering to me, thinking about that type of a thing. It's just along the lines of what you were saying, Tigger, just that little thing and recognizing it. But I always say to my riders, sometimes the softest aid spoken is the loudest heard.
Ooh,
yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Gosh, all these things to put on plaques.
I know. Like that's like a whole leg full of tattoos right there.
There's so many. I'm trying to narrow it down. Many, many moons ago, I was at a clinic with, I believe it was Torrance Watkins. I'm dating myself.
Oh my gosh,
Torrance Watkins.
Fleischman.
Yes.
Oh.
On the paint.
Yeah. Yes, on Poltroon.
Yeah, Poltroon.
One of my heroes. And I thought I was pretty hot stuff at that time. I was a obnoxious eventing teenager. Mm-hmm. And I was whining about my horse pulling on me and what bit I should be using cross country. And she looked at me knowing that I was an obnoxious teenager and said, it doesn't matter what bit you use. He can only pull on you if you pull back.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! It's like, thank you very much.
And I'm sure she was like, mic drop and peace out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I needed that back in the day because I was a pretty obnoxious little teenager. So that kind of was, I think that was a light bulb moment for me, that there was a universe outside of what I knew, because I kind of thought I knew a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, golly, I guess there's more to this than being
hang on and kick.
Yeah, because I was very much the hot and heavy, run fast, jump high, fall hard eventer. You just got on the horse and you kicked and you went, and not a lot of finesse there. Mm-hmm. So I think that was, I've remembered it all these years. So it must have been a real light bulb moment for me that other things got built upon ever since then. A more recent one is I help Shauna Karish do the Clicker Training 101 podcast. I produce that for her, so I get to listen to it in my head. And she talks a lot about threshold, where you want to keep the horse's psyche and his adrenaline within a certain level so that he is best capable of learning. And that goes for learning for any mammal. Their adrenaline goes too high, they're not learning. They go into flight reflex, right? Or fight reflex, depending on what it is. And she talks about staying within threshold a lot so that the horse can be learning. And after about the third or fourth episode of hearing that word a lot in my head, it finally dawned on me that applies to everything you're doing with the horse. It doesn't matter if you've ever picked up a clicker or if you don't believe in giving your horse treats. It doesn't matter. He has to be within a certain frame of mind in order to be learning. And it's my job as the human to make sure he stays there by not pushing him past that threshold.
This also goes true for husbands and boyfriends.
You are so right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You are so, yes. Learning mammals.
Yep.
Yep. That's a gal with some experience right there that just said that.
Yeah, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so husbands, horses. So as the human being in the deal there, it's my job to make sure my horse can learn by keeping within that, and going back to that recognition word again, recognizing if I've gone past it. And it's my responsibility. And it's not his fault that he picked up the wrong lead. I pushed him past his threshold, and he got a little panicky and ran into that canter transition and got the wrong lead because I pushed him past his threshold. I didn't set him up properly, let him work it out, and then get it right?
Yes.
And that's a more recent revelation for me. Yeah.
That's a very cool revelation.
It's a great one. It's such a good one. I just got back from doing a clinic, and one of the things that I'm beginning to realize is a theme for me is sort of what stemmed from that article that I was telling you about. But just always making sure that that you are being kind. You can't. One of my pet peeves is don't ever come in my ring and say, well, he just did this, or my horse just, because I mean, that is where I am infinitely patient. But if you start blaming a horse for, and sometimes it's just seriously, it's not good riding, right? And that's why they're there, which is great. But it's just, that's a hard thing for me to be patient about. But I try. But it's just, you can't. This is what I always tell my people, that because I have some people that come in and they just they walk one lap, they trot 2 laps, and they just canter, and then they're like, okay, I'm warmed up. I'm like, okay. So tomorrow when we start, how about you start at 7:00? I do not want you to get up or have coffee or do anything. And I want you to get right out of bed, get on that horse and perform that leg yield that you were just making that horse do that quickly. You've got to step back and look at the whole thing. Like, you just have to recognize that just because your desire to do that in that moment doesn't mean you've set it up correctly.
Yes. And that plays right into another slightly less recent one. And this was derived from listening to lots and lots and lots of horsemen from lots and lots of different backgrounds. And it was a little bit of a self-discovery thing, is toss your agenda out the door.
That's a good one.
I find
That is a good one.
I'm a better horseman when I toss my agenda out the door. I'm not going to say better rider, because rider's only part of it.
But I'm going to stop you there, because good horsemen, whether they are talented or not talented, are better riders, hands down, because I'll take a good horseman over a talented rider doesn't have horsemanship skills at all.
Right.
I mean,
absolutely.
I've seen so many people with less ability that have the heart to do it the right way. And that's something that I, as a teacher and a rider and a trainer, have evolved. It's such a great place for me to be at this point in my life, because there's a lot of stuff. I was saying to somebody recently, my daughter, who is also a rider, is 25 years old. And a lot of the things that she does, she's very systematic and whatever. But there are things that I did 20 years ago that were really important to me, that I thought were a really big deal, like these little systems and how I did it. And I combed the mane this way and I did this. And, it is so funny, because I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just not important. I don't even care about those things anymore. There's certain things that I keep. So as you mature as a horseman, I am so grateful that I am so aware that I know so little, because that is always striving me to listen, and to listen to everybody. Some of the best advice I've gotten are from layman people standing on the side, or some cowboy with a hat tipped down,
Yeah, they're looking at it at very different eyes. Yes, you're right.
And
absolutely.
If you just, ego needs to be step aside, and learning needs to be the precedence. And so kind of cool.
Yeah.
Good conversation.
Good conversation. Dang, we're so smart.
We're getting there, aren't we?
Well, that's a lovely conversation, and we would love to hear about your best horsemanship advice ever. And where can people tell us about that, Tigger?
HealthyCrittersRadio.com, or on Facebook, Healthy Critters Radio.
That's it. And I think it's time right now for the Talking Pomeranian.
I think for some advice.
Yes, it's time we bring Hedwig into this.
There we go.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Hetty!
Hi, Hetty.
Hello, Sybil and Patsy. Who else is there? Not Glenn. Please don't let it be Glenn.
No, Glenn.
Oh,
Glenn is
thank
not
the
here, I
Lord.
assure you. You're fine. It's okay.
I have had quite a week, and the thought of Glenn already just making another week crap was too much for my soul. This is what I'm saying. It's only Tuesday, and I've already had an exhausting week.
It sounds like it. It sounds like you're out on a hunt with your pack.
Yes, me and my pack are hunting. You know what we're hunting?
What?
Cheese!
Cheese.
That was you set me up for that.
Cheddar. The elusive cheddar fish.
So we have a question for you, Hetty.
Yes, I have answers. You know I do.
I know, but we're looking for suggestions from you for
Yeah.
good reading material for canines and their servants this summer.
Okay, I need a little bit of help on this one because in the past you have asked me about entertainment and I have flummoxed you. So if you could just give me a genre, that might be helpful.
Summer reading, light.
Yeah, light.
Oh.
Yes, I like that. Light
Light.
summer reading. Yes.
Okay, so in the fantasy genre, there are the Dresden Files, excellent books, very entertaining, yes. Jim Butcher wrote them, and also they are on books on tape, so you can listen to them in your car when you're driving for 7 hours. They are by James Marsters. He reads them, yes. He was Spike on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, an excellent show which you should all go watch because you're probably culturally illiterate. Now, moving on to other genres, mystery novels. Have you read the Maisie Dobbs books? Those are quite excellent, quite entertaining, and the one was just released, excellent. Although, intrigue World War II. But moving on from there, depressing but realistic and familiar. Let's see. Spy novels. Jean Le Carré, of course, is very traditional spy master. Certainly well worth reading. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Because it will be warm, see, Jack? Summer. Oh, I suppose you could read Game of Thrones if you had 7,000 or 8,000 years. Reading long books that would have been better if they'd been edited by someone who wasn't the guy who wrote them. But, I know. Wonderful series by Sebastian de Castell. Yes, you should read those immediately. Wow, were those amazing. Go do it right now. And then I shall finish with the Catherine Arden trilogy that starts with The Bear and the Nightingale. Wow. Unputdownable.
Unputdownable.
Unputdownable. That's quite a
word.
Yeah, that's quite a word. Yeah, that's some kind of a recommendation, Hedwig. Well, thank you very much. That's enough reading to keep me busy for the next 10 summers, and I appreciate it.
Well, I'm here to help,
Yes, you are, Hedwig. Thanks a bunch, and you have a great afternoon.
Well, thank you so much. You too.
So we are now at the Tigopedia portion of our show. And I thought because it's spring and all sorts of things happen in the spring with our horses and our dogs, Tigger, what would be good suggestion for natural remedies for like cuts and scrapes on your dogs and horses or cats for that matter?
One of my foundation potions in the medicine cabinet is colloidal silver.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Colloidal silver is a natural antibiotic because silver has antimicrobial properties, which is why our great grandparents, when they were, crossing the the country in covered wagons, perishable things were carried in silver pitchers. It kept the water good. So, in fact, on NASA flights, when they go to space, everything, the knobs and everything are silver.
Didn't know that.
So colloidal silver is silver that is suspended as a colloidal in a liquid. And I've had just amazing success internally, using it internally, using it externally I could write a book, 1,001 uses for colloidal silver.
This could be a new one, Tig.
It could be, yes, could go along with the coconut oil.
It's the companion to coconut oil. It's going to be a series of 5 books when it's finished.
And of course, it's always good to have, hydrogen peroxide, betadine, those things around to, clean out a bad cut or a deep wound. The other thing I really like is BioStar's Tremera poultice. Now, it's not something you would use on a really deep wound where you would, probably need stitches. But it's great around the edge of the wound because you know how things start swelling, with just an abrasion cut, it's awesome. It has colloidal silver in it, and the clays, pull out toxins. So poultice, as an ancient way of dealing with cuts and bruises, and that's what I love about that Tremera poultice. It's
How
got
do you spell that,
calendula in
Tigger?
it. T as in Tom, R as in Robert, A as in apple, U as in umbrella, M as in Mary, E as in Edward, R as in Robert, A as in apple.
Gotcha.
As in trauma.
Gotcha.
Tromera.
I don't want to tell you how I spelled it, so it was not that.
I think I've got an idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are things that you can, I have a lot of comfrey in my garden. Comfrey is one of those things, one plant that you start and then it just keeps growing. And you have many comfrey plants the next year and then you can start moving them around. But comfrey leaves are great to put on a cut, an abrasion, a wound. Take some aloe. If you have an aloe plant, every house should have one. That's great for dog paws and things. Comfrey will pull. It's also known as bone set. So there are lots of things that we have around. You don't need in my opinion, a medicine cabinet full of pharmaceuticals.
Right. Well, and also you do use Manuka honey, correct?
I do use Manuka honey. It depends on if I have an open wound. And I will put Manuka honey in there because it's antibacterial. I'll put colloidal silver and Manuka in there. It really helps the wound heal from within.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
it's not good to give to dogs because they just lick it off.
Good point.
Unless you've got it on a place that they can't lick.
Yeah.
On horses, they don't tend to lick it much.
I did have a horse that licked it off a foot, which was interesting.
Oh, wow.
Years ago. And so my other question is arnica. Do you use arnica?
I use arnica homeopathically, the little homeopathic tablets.
Okay.
If I'm dealing with muscle soreness.
Gotcha.
I've used arnica gel on horses, on joints and muscles. I've never used it on a dog, but that's not to say that I wouldn't.
Right. Okay. Cool. Those are
think of arnica for wounds.
Right. Okay. Because it's just more bruising.
Yeah.
And soreness. Well, cool. Those are some pretty cool things to have, and it's great because it's not like you have to worry about, well, can I use this drug with this drug? I mean, all of these are very safe and interchangeable.
And if your horse has to have stitches, and of course they'll be on a course of antibiotics, but you can put the Tremera poultice around the stitch to keep the swelling down. Yeah, it's great to have on hand.
Yeah,
and you can use it on yourself for bug bites, tick bites.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Cool.
So I've got an important question here. Your average everyday, your horse gets bit in the butt by his pasture mate. You can just slather a fingerful of Tremera
on it.
There.
Yep.
Just I like
and it will just dry.
Right. But it's the thing I like about that is we're in Florida where it's super duper hot. Everything melts. What's the
Yeah,
point?
this won't melt.
It won't melt, but it also has antibacterial properties because
It
you want to
does.
put something
Got
on there
cortisol.
antibacterial, and the bugs are not going to bother it because it's covered with dirt, which is exactly what the horse wants to cover it with anyway.
Right.
Correct.
I love it.
We've made Jen happy.
You have, and I should have. We should have had this conversation last week because I had to reorder Glory's canine Theracalm. She lives on Theracalm, especially during storm season.
Yeah.
And I could have got the poultice at the same
Could have gotten
time.
Tremera.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good thing you know the person that knows where to get that. So you probably could get yourself hooked up.
I have an inside track on that.
You do have an inside track. Well, that's so cool. And if any of our listeners have any other ideas, please let us know on Healthy Critters Radio on Facebook, because we would love to hear about it, because these are it's always great. You never can get enough good remedies for making your horse and your dogs and your cats and your rabbits and what else you got.
Your
feel better.
alpacas, yeah.
Your alpacas.
Now we're at Critter Nutrition, and I'm going to talk about the United States Equestrian Federation and the CBD ban. Recently, the United States Equestrian Federation, USEF, announced that as of September 1, 2019, USEF prohibits CBD and all related cannabinoids. For context, note that CBD, or cannabidiol, is only one of 113 cannabinoid molecules that scientists have identified. Some researchers estimate there could be 100 more cannabinoids not yet discovered. USEF goes on to say that, quote, horses competing under USEF rules who test positive for natural cannabinoids, synthetic cannabinoids, and other cannabimetics will be considered in violation of GR4, the Drugs and Medications chapter of the USEF rulebook, end quote. After the press release was issued, my phone blew up almost immediately with emails and texts from owners and riders concerned about hemp products. What concerns me are some of USEF's blanket statements using very general terms like cannabinoids and other cannabimetics. Reading this press release, I'm not sure USEF really understands the body's natural endocannabinoid system. We'll get into that later. First, let's start with what hemp really is. Hemp seed oil versus hemp oil, what's the difference? Hemp seeds do not contain cannabidiol, CBD. Naturally, therefore, oils pressed from hemp seeds like BioStar's Empower do not contain CBD. Hemp oil, on the other hand, can be pressed from seeds, stems, leaves, and flowers from the whole plant, which means that small, even trace amounts of CBD could be present. For now, if you are going to be competing in USEF competitions, make sure the oil you give your horse is hemp seed oil, not hemp oil. Hemp protein versus hemp CBD protein. By itself, hemp protein does not contain CBD. However, be aware that there are hemp CBD protein supplements for humans where CBD has been added to a hemp protein base. What about hemp fines? These are the cracked shells and nuts of the hemp seed after oil extraction. This material is high in fiber and protein but contains no CBD. What is hemp biomass? This is the remainder of the hemp plant after CBD extraction. Depending on the extraction process, the hemp biomass contains 10 to 12% CBD, as well as protein fiber and a small amount of fat, including the essential fatty acids. Hemp biomass contains CBD. Understanding the biological endocannabinoid system. It is estimated that the endocannabinoid system, endo meaning within the body, developed in vertebrates 600 million years ago. Its function is to regulate homeostasis in the body. All mammals, including humans and horses, have an endocannabinoid system. Mammalian bodies make cannabinoids, known as endogenous cannabinoids, that fit into specific receptors, CB1 and CB2, located in the brain, in the GI tract, in macrophages, in other immune cells, and in the liver. Research has identified that there is a signaling that takes place between plant-produced cannabinoids, known as phytocannabinoids, and our animal receptor sites. What this means is that mammalian bodies have evolved to use not just our own endogenous cannabinoids, but those from outside as well, such as the cannabinoids found in plants. How CBD works. CBD stimulates the endocannabinoid system, promoting homeostasis. Our endocannabinoid system regulates body temperature, for instance, when we get too cold or too hot. It also regulates metabolism. The endocannabinoid system is a crucial molecular system for health and well-being. Unlike psychoactive THC, which can fit into the endocannabinoid receptors of the brain, CBD inhibits metabolic enzymes such as FAAH that break down the endogenous cannabinoids, thereby keeping endogenous cannabinoid levels elevated in the body, helping to regulate homeostasis. By the way, ibuprofen is also an FAH inhibitor, unlike any other NSAID. However, like other NSAIDs, ibuprofen has a tendency to produce serious gastrointestinal and renal damage. Pharmaceutical companies are working on future drugs that will simultaneously block FAAH and the COX enzyme for synergistic analgesic responses and reduction in NSAID-induced GI damage. In this light, and with these goals in mind, it would appear that pharmaceutical CBD is just around the corner. Cannabinoids and cannabimimetics. As mentioned above, the recent USEF press release includes this statement, quote, horses competing under USEF rules who test positive for natural cannabinoids, synthetic cannabinoids, and other cannabimimetics will be considered in violation of GR4 beginning September 1, 2019, end quote. The concerning part is that cannabinoids, including CBD, are actually a very diverse group of chemical compounds that can be found all around us. One example of a non-CBD cannabinoid is BCP, beta-caryophyllene. BCP is a natural component of black pepper, carrots, hops, rosemary, basil, oregano, cinnamon, cloves, and hemp. BCP has already been approved as a food additive by the FDA. However, because it activates the body's endocannabinoid system by binding to the CB2 receptor, it was technically classified in 2008 as a dietary cannabinoid. So what about cannabimimetics? These are defined as phytochemicals and secondary metabolites that are able to interact with the endocannabinoid system by mimicking the biological activity of true cannabinoids. These compounds have been recently described in a broad range of plants and fruits, including echinacea, maca, cacao, omega-3 fatty acids. That's right. When our horses consume grass, flax, chia, canola, those omega-3 fatty acids can be converted into endocannabinoids, which makes these common horse foods cannabimimetic, substances that could easily violate the new USEF rules. What we don't know is how many foods and plants contain cannabinoids. Hard to say, especially when we don't even know how many cannabinoid compounds even exist in the plant world. Remember, CBD is only one of 113 that have been discovered so far, and researchers have estimated there could be 100 more. Not to mention how many cannabimimetic foods and plants are out there. These are the compounds that simply mimic actual cannabinoids by also interacting with the endocannabinoid system. Studies are ongoing, but the answer is anyone's guess. It is now well understood that the mammalian endocannabinoid system plays a crucial role in regulating homeostasis, which is essential to the health and well-being of any mammal. Not only does this system make its own endogenous cannabinoids, but can convert and use cannabinoids from plants and other foods. We also know that the USEF is not trying to ban flax and carrots as part of their ban on natural cannabinoids. I'm fairly certain that USEF just isn't yet aware of the absurd broadness of their cannabinoid and cannabimimetics ban, at least as it is worded in their recent press release. Of course, the USEF has every right and plenty of leverage to ban the specific cannabinoid CBD if that move is necessary. But is it necessary? At least one major global authority on athletics and performance-enhancing drugs says it's not. In January 2018, the World Anti-Doping Agency removed CBD as a banned substance. Organizations that operate under the World Anti-Doping Agency policy include the International Olympic Committee, the International Paralympic Committee, all international federations, and over 200 other national-level anti-doping organizations. The World Anti-Doping Agency has determined that CBD does not have the potential to enhance sport performance, does not represent a health risk to the athletes, and does not violate the spirit of sport. There is no certainty on how long it takes for CBD to be fully metabolized and cleared from the system in horses. An ongoing study on CBD for arthritis and laminitis in horses has found that the half-life of CBD in horses is about 8 hours. 3 pending studies currently await funding. So for now, it appears that a 7-day clearing time is optimal. BioStar introduced hemp seed oil to the equine industry in 2007. By 2008, we had introduced hemp protein and hemp fines to several of our newer formulas. Just last year, in 2018, BioStar launched Receptor EQ with CBD containing organic hemp biomass. Prior to making Receptor EQ available to customers, I studied CBD carefully for 2 years, looking for the most reliable formulations. This meant, for example, avoiding all the CBD oils and isolates because concentrations and dosages varied widely from product to product. It was too unpredictable. We embrace the science of the entourage effect, which describes the synergistic effect of a plant's components when taken all together. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Unlike all the extracted oils and isolates on the market, hemp biomass provides this entourage effect, which we believe fits perfectly with BioStar's whole food ambitions. We fully accept the science behind the endocannabinoid system and its role in enhancing survival and life quality via homeostasis in mammals. BioStar didn't bring a CBD product to market because it was popular or a fad. We brought it to market because supporting homeostasis is crucial for health and well-being.
Real horses and real dogs are healthier, perform better, and recover more quickly on real food. That's why BioStar empowers horse and canine owners with 100% whole food nutrition, supplements, and feeding programs. BioStar products are made at their own certified non-GMO facility in Gordonsville, Virginia, using real fruit ingredients that are raw, freeze-dried, or dehydrated, never cooked, and are free from artificial flavors, colors, soy, corn, wheat, and molasses. The BioStar product line includes a wide range of whole food, horse and dog supplements, treats, and unique artisan poultices that embrace the ancient and traditional uses of clay and plants. Visit biostarus.com today and learn about whole foods and canine and equine nutrition so you can make the best decisions about the care and health of your horses and dogs. That's biostarus.com. Whole food nutrition the way nature intended.
And now we're at Coffee Klatch, and we have been inspired, or I should say I have been inspired, by an article I read this morning in the Washington Post. It was an opinion piece called How to Name Your Dog Without Offending Its Canine Sensibilities. And the subtitle is, Our Furry Friends Are Nothing Like Humans. Let's Stop Giving Them Human Names. It's written by Amy Fusselman, and you can find it. It came out today, so that's the Washington Post, May 21st, 2019. And her opening article is, I have some important dog information to share with you, and I know it is 100% true because my dog told it all to me. According to my dog, there is a problem between dogs and humans today, and the problem is this. Humans have forgotten what a dog is. So our topic in Coffee Klatch is, is your dog a fur baby? Are we treating our dogs like humans rather than treating them as dogs? And I'm going to begin by saying I really don't like the name fur baby. I don't think of myself as a fur parent. I think of dogs as my friends, and they're my pack members, but they are not my children, and they are not my babies. And I don't name my dogs after any human names at all, which is, when I read this article, I went, that's interesting. I don't give my dogs, I may give them character names, but I don't give them, Bella and Charlie, and I don't give them human names.
I give my animals human names, but I don't think about it other than it's a name that I like. And sometimes I've made names up, which I thought were awesome. And then, of course, years later, I'm going, whew, what was I thinking? But, I do think I get so frustrated when I see people not letting a dog be a dog.
Yeah.
I am certain I have said they are my babies. I am certain, but when I say that as a mother of 3 kids, I don't mean it in the same, they're definitely a part of my family. Absolutely, positively. But I also think that I have, anybody who knows me that's going to hear this statement, please don't roll over. I think I have healthy boundaries when it comes to, where my dogs, where they, what their role is in, the family. I'm not trying to make them into humans. Sometimes I prefer my dogs to humans, but yeah, it's, I find that I have zero tolerance for people that are putting them in purses and carrying them everywhere. Like, I'm not saying that I am turned off by that. I'm just saying that I don't, if it's a small enough dog, I guess it's carrying it in purses, like bringing it in a soft crate, but that's just not my gig. I mean, I want my dog to get its feet dirty and feel the earth and, run through water, and I don't know, they like you said, they're kind of part of the pack,
There's something that this opinion piece brought out that I thought was a really good reminder. Dogs don't see as well as we do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Their number one sensibility is scent.
Okay. Interesting. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
No, they don't. There's colors they don't see. They sort of see everything in gray. So their eyesight isn't terribly acute,
Mhm.
but their smell and their hearing, those are their acute senses. So as people who live with dogs, maybe we need to just be more clued into their doggedness, which is scent and hearing.
That is so interesting. I did not know that. Like, I knew they didn't see colors. I wouldn't have thought of it. Like, I've never really thought about that. That's interesting. But that makes a lot of sense. Boy, I just would never have thought that.
And that's why dogs need to go and, smell the dirt and smell the plants and get muddy feet. And as much as it's a pain to clean up after them in that regard when they get all dirty, and they're being them.
Yeah, they're not people.
They are not people.
Oh, or how about this? Now that you've when we've really talked about the scent, people that are constantly putting like perfume on their dogs. Can you imagine how much that screws with them?
Well, and think of the shampoos.
Mm-hmm.
They're
the overly clean dog.
Yeah. It's not good for them.
Well, it's not good for a person either.
Right.
That's
exactly.
true.
There's a balance in there. There's a healthy balance in there.
Yeah.
Or the overly clean horse,
which we've talked about a lot, letting the horses roll and work on the microbiome of their skin. And it's the same with dogs.
And I feel very proud that I don't have overly clean any of those.
Way to go, Jen. Way to go.
It's very interesting. Our greyhound, who is now the blind greyhound, kind of sad, but interesting you talk about their primary sense being scent and hearing. A sight hound is probably a little bit more tuned into his vision than most other types of dogs. But she very much gets around now by what she feels under her paws.
Mm-hmm.
Because she really can't see a darn thing. But she knows when she feels a certain piece of concrete that there's a stair in front of her. Wow. Now, we have concrete all around our house. We have a sidewalk in the front. We have a concrete pad on the side. We have those little concrete pavers on the back. She can tell the difference between the concrete paver and the concrete sidewalk on her paw.
Wow.
Because she knows that the concrete paver has a ramp and the concrete pad step.
It's amazing.
Because she gets to that and she knows there's a step there. She goes and makes a big step all by herself. But we know darn well she can't see a thing because she smashes right into walls.
Right. Yeah.
So that's very interesting that you talked and brought up the whole how their senses, they are hardwired to use their senses differently than human beings are.
Yeah, and that's such a huge point to what Tigger is saying, because that's the thing, is when you humanize. I mean, it's even. I mean, we could go on to this with the horses too. Don't even get me started there. But you can't. I mean, yes, they can be a part of your family, but you have to make them part of your family as a dog.
We have to work hard at being part of their pack.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
It goes both ways. Yeah.
And I think we need to honor the dog. I mean, there is a perception of the word dog like it's a lower being. Oh, it's just a dog. But, the reverse spelling of dog is God. They are their own mastery.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I like that, and honoring the dog as an individual.
Yep.
It's really easy, especially if you are passionate about a certain breed of dog. It's easy to overgeneralize in that it's dog type, dog A, B, or C. It should be the A, B, or C. Maybe not. Maybe your golden retriever isn't a family-friendly, happy-go-lucky dog. Maybe he's a little bit outside the stereotype, and he's a little bit more serious a dog that has some fear issues. So you need to honor that and help him make his life happy within those boundaries and treat him like an individual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me think that with that strong scent, that maybe when I want one of my dogs to come, I should just put a little bacon grease on my hands.
So get behind your ears. Yeah.
I like it.
I think that's it. Yeah, that's good thinking there, Tig. It's a whole new training way. There was once clicker training, now there's bacon grease training.
Training. Another book. This is the 3rd volume in the series.
Yeah. And I think Sabi would like that book.
Yes, I like it a lot.
Yeah, he would. So if you are like us and you really don't think of your dog as a fur baby, let us know on healthycrittersradio.com.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, BioStar US. You can find them online at biostarus.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app on iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Love your dog.
Hug your horse.
Feed your chickens.
Clean your litter box.
Dance with your goat.
Slither with your snakes.
Howl at the moon.
Hang with your hamster.
Party with your parrot.
Waddle with your walrus.
Outwit your otter.
Cuddle your cows.
Rap with your raptor.
Go chipping with your chipmunks.
Forgive your fox.
While hedging your hog.
We also recommend that you rack with your raccoon.
Gyrate with your giraffe.
Meditate with a meerkat.
Uber with your orangutan.
Facebook with your flamingo.
Ponder with your panda.
Walk with your Wookiee.
Yawn with your yak.
Twitter with your toucan.
Go raining with your reindeer.
Dropbox your dragon.